I've never seen a diamond in the flesh. I cut my teeth on wedding rings in the movies, and I'm not proud of my address.
We're not just building muscle, we're building men. In the quiet hours, in the unfiltered moments, in the conversations that happen before the world wakes up. This is the Glue-OOM, where brotherhood forms in the dark so we can lead in the light, where vulnerability is strength and leadership is handed from man to man, one story at a time. Our mission is to empower, exhort, and inspire men to achieve their best selves through stories of reinvigorated male community leadership. We bring you weekly interviews with F3 Omaha PAX, ordinary men doing extraordinary things in fitness, fellowship, faith, and leadership, because we believe that every man has a story, and reinvigoration starts when that story is shared. This is the Glue in the Gloom. Shout out to our sponsors, Avior Wealth Management, Liberty Core Real Estate, Major Team Mortgage, Exclusively Eye Care, Omaha Laser Dentistry, and McNamara Law Firm. We appreciate your support. Yo, Gloom listeners, it's your boy The Plague. Let me talk to you about our brother Amazin, aka Patrick McNamara with McNamara Law Firm right here in Old Town Elkhorn. Amazin serves as outside counsel for small business owners, helping to form contracts, review agreements, and provide practical advice that keeps you focused on growth. He also works with families to create living trusts that protect your kids and safeguard what you've built. Reach out to our brother Amazin today at McNamara Law Firm and start putting the right plan in place for your business, your family, and your future. What's it like to love your dentist? Well, you're about to find out, where healthy smiles go beyond your teeth. No drilling, no needles, and no anxiety. Relax, it's Omaha Laser Dentistry. Welcome to better. At Omaha Laser Dentistry, Dr. Bullenparty uses the Solea laser, a CO2 laser that's used in all of his day-to-day patient care. He provides thorough exams, assessments, and treatments for things like snoring, tethered tissue, and extractions like wisdom teeth, as well as other surgeries. Check him out today at omahalaserdentistry.com. Discounts may be available for F3 Omaha members. Now, let's get back to the gloom.
I've never seen a diamond in the flesh. Are we singing? You got Junior. We're live here at the Nomad. This is Gayer. We're my teeth on wedding trees. There you go. Here with Plague, and we're sitting across from Break Room, who is ready to answer all the questions we have. Like I said, we've got a list this is a highly anticipated interview. We've got a whole list of questions, listener supported here. So let's start off Break Room just by going through that first workout. Tell us where your fitness level was. How that workout went, and then most importantly, how you got your name.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Gator. Thanks for letting me be your first intro. Just a solid job there. And Plague, I've already said this joke once, but I'll say it again. You know, busy, don't meet your heroes, but we're here in the Nomad.
Honor.
I'm on the Gloom, and it's great to be here. So fired up to be in a program here.
You don't have to sing it all today, Don. That's good for everyone here. So you need to turn. Yeah. EH story is a little bit longer than most, I'd say. My dad is Q-Tip, and Q-Tip, who will be mentioned off during this episode, I'm sure. He joined in 2021 when I was kind of going through a few other things in my life and let him just kind of do his own thing. And he would occasionally tell me, I'm doing this F3 thing. I worked out with so-and-so this morning, this guy that you know from college, or this guy, from various walks of life, and would drop little nuggets about this stuff. At the time, he was in his late 60s, and I just thought it was kind of an old man thing that wasn't really my speed. And there was a bunch of guys working out early in the morning, not really what I was interested in at the time, is what I thought. And kind of let him do his own thing, and just from standing back and seeing him, I kind of saw the way he progressed in his fitness and how he would talk about it, how he would rave willingly about it, and how, it's occasionally see some other guys that were in F3 that would talk about him, or talk really glowingly about him. And so I always had this nugget in the back of my head that
it was something I wanted to do. And it's kind of weird to say it. I knew I was going to like it. But I didn't want to do it at that time in my life. Like I had too much stuff going on. I kind of kept putting it off, putting it off. I eventually, got married, went on a European honeymoon, came back, got my life in order again. And then I showed up for Father's Day, 2023 to our family outing. And I didn't have anything to give my dad. I didn't have any more excuses really at that point. Like I had my life settled. I was ready to go. I told him, this F3 thing, I'll give it 3 tries. You got 3 tries from me. And if I don't like it, we don't have to talk about it ever again. And, if we do, then we'll see where it goes. And he was ecstatic. And then, at that point, and that was on a Sunday, kind of mid-morning. And, we do our Father's Day stuff. And then I think I had a text message from it like 2:00. And it was, meet me at this strip mall on Pacific Street, which I now know is the Trident. And he's like, show up. There's guys that run beforehand if you want to do that. That starts at 5. And at the time I had run a marathon the month before. And I was kind of like, yeah, it's this old guys run thing. I could do this. Sure. What if this is going to be that hard? And so showed up at 5 a.m. at the Trident. He had arranged for Swiper to be there, who is a guy I had met a few times before. He's at work with my dad. They were friends and I'd golfed with Swiper. So it was nice to have somebody that I was familiar with. So my dad went off and rucked. Swiper and I did the pre-run at Trident. And the pre-run at Trident is not flat and not easy. And so I remember getting done and this was actually a pretty good workout. And then Swiper said, let's go pick up the 6. And there was another guy that was running behind us. And so even before I started my first workout, I got to go pick up the 6. And it's like, I thought that was kind of cool, a cool aspect of that right away. But get to the Trident, everybody gets there. It was a good turnout, maybe 20 or so people the first day. Turns out my dad had maybe topped prior to some of the guys there to maybe either get them there or I've talked to him a little bit and told him that I was going to be there. Wentworth was on the queue. We did he had sandbags and dumbbells and some, and we did some 4-corner station workout. It was a good beat down. It really was. And to the point where I've recreated it on my anniversaries. I've gotten stuff from him. So really enjoyed it. And then comes time for Name-O. And I think my dad had talked to Wentworth prior because I think if you give this guy a crappy day, he's never come back, and you'll see, as you tell everybody about what you like to do in your golf and nobody's really saying much. And I'm like, I would be for work. I'm a construction project manager, but I work at Children's Hospital. I'm a nurse by trade. And I say that and immediately for a minute, it's Gaylord Fokker, Gaylord Fokker. And that's all everybody wants to name me. And I think my dad's like, no, let's not name him that. And Kildasa, who was in PsyQ at the time, and also a fellow male nurse. Yeah. It's like, where'd you meet your wife? My wife and I both work at Children's. We met at work. That's where Break Room came from. I think we settled on Break Room. So I remember I knew everybody got a name. And so I was kind of trying to play into something, cooler than that. I remember leaving Break Room. That's kind of a plain name. Yeah, but it could have been worse. It could have been Gaylord. Yeah, you also could have been named after your favorite sport team rival. Yes, it's not a good name. Exactly right. So things could have been a lot different. And I think now you just grow into the name, and that's just who I am, and I really kind of like it. So I kind of decompressed with my dad a little bit. I was like, I like that. What's next? And so that was Tuesday. On Wednesday, he's like, well, there's a running site. So I went to Paradise the very next day. Stuck around for Q-Source to get a little bit of taste of that. And then after that, I think I posted Friday at Woodshed. And I went back and looked. I think my first 10 posts were 10 different AOs. So I lived in Exarban. So I walked to Stinson and do those. I did a lot of B-side stuff. My dad was queuing out west. I would go see him out west, that type of thing. So just kind of tried to jump in once I knew I liked it, and just kind of meet guys and spread out and see where it got to offer. So that's kind of a longer story for the BH.
But yeah, it, gosh, so much to unpack there. And one of the thoughts I had was we should do a workout with all the male nurses, like just because all together.
And we'll do IVs afterwards. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. The workout will be so doing the rehydrated.
Now, I want to dive into, we'll talk about like how this has impacted your relationship with your dad, but you made a comment that like your life was kind of a mess or out of order. Any more details on that? Like what makes you say that?
Yeah, sure. So this is very kind of parallel timelines. In 2021, when my dad started, I was going through divorce. And so, I was just at that point, just trying to keep my life together. And I didn't think waking up at 4:30 in the morning to just hang out with some dudes was like what I wanted at that point. And, when in actuality, you look back, it's like, that's exactly what I needed at that point. And so it's kind of weird the way it all works out. But, that was the reason I really didn't think it was right for me at that time. And I'm glad it worked out the way it did, but in retrospect, so man, could I have used this 2 years prior? And that's right, I could have.
Just like a young puppy love kind of thing, married the wrong person, or did you have kids with that? Just
Not curious on that. Yeah, no. And I had what I would call a very good relationship with my ex-wife and still relatively do. And we had a very amicable divorce. It's probably just something that we weren't the right people for each other. And it came to a head at some point. And, I'm in my early 30s and I'm checking all the boxes at that point. I'm happily married, or what I think is happily married. I've got this house in this neighborhood. I drive this car. I've got this job where I make X dollars, and we've travel all over and we do all this stuff with friends. And then it was also at the same time kind of unfilling. And, to be fair, my ex-wife, I was not a good husband. At that point, I didn't put my spouse first, or rarely ever at that point. I look back and you're almost kind of like ashamed of the person you were back then, and you get to kind of self-reflect. And, we can get into my relationship with my wife now, but getting divorced was the best, worst thing that ever happened to me. When you go through it, we didn't get much into it, Gator, but, when I was going through the divorce and I was 145 pounds and not eating and probably drinking too much, and, this self-pity thing that I went through, when you're in that, you don't think about the end of it and see what could come of it. And now I am a better husband because of what I went through prior to, and I'm a better person, I'm a better son, coworker, all stuff. So it's just something a hurdle in life that you come out on the other side of, and it's like, man, that sucked, but I'm kind of glad that happened.
Yeah. We were chatting before the show, and I'm divorced as well, and mine was fairly amicable as well. And the way you described it is the best, worst thing that can happen to you. I haven't heard that before, but that is exactly right. And it was for me as well. And so I'm curious, you said that your ex-wife was not the priority for you. What was the top spot for you? Was it career? Was it, how are you feeling that, what was your sort of focus then?
I felt like I maybe treated our relationship more as like we were friends. So it was what I wanted at the end of the way, and, I look back on some of the things that I maybe did or said, or, I was not putting her first at that point. And it was very, concentric. It was me at that stage of my life. And I very desperately wanted to be a father, and, I wouldn't have been a father at that point in my life either, even though that's what I thought I really wanted, and I thought what I would be good at. That was my calling. That was not what God had intended for me at that point too. And I just need to maybe hit reset, and I hit reset really hard and in a very sudden way. And I think things, can't speak for my ex-wife, but I think things have worked out really well for both of us. And I wish her nothing but the best. And I think she would feel the same way about me. you spend 5 or 6 years of your life with somebody and you grow this, what you think is going to be forever. And then when it becomes not forever, you're just picking up the pieces and trying to put it back together. And I think I've put it back together even stronger than it was before.
Yeah. And it sounds like you had made some substantial progress in putting it back together before you found F3. Well, I said before you gave F3 the opportunity to have 3 strikes. Is that right? But so you mentioned you ran a marathon right before. So was fitness a big part of your sort of efforts to get your life on track, and then you kind of build on that with F3?
Almost to a fault.
Yeah.
But that one is any, divorced person can probably attest to. But I mean, growing up, I was always active and busy in sports and in shape. I'm a college baseball player. I got a shout out Hastings College. Hell, there's a lot of F3 Omaha Packs who are Hastings College alum that if I started to name, I'm sure I would miss a few, so I can't name them all. But some guys that I used to hang out with in college, they're still there. I've come back in my right. Sasquatch is a T Swift. Ditka is a great friend of mine. He's a Hastings College guy. Cheap Seats is Hastings College.
Tamasha. Yeah, if I am old.
Ani Stinger is a very big HC guy as well. So yeah, I try in this view. But
There's a Flea Harney library.
There is. Yeah, took some classes as I got, sir. So I've got some ancestry there too. Yeah.
But post college, I was a gym guy. Go to the gym 5 days a week, lift, do your thing there. Stayed in good shape throughout my 20s. Wasn't really big at cardio or anything, and then got worse. And what am I going to do to spend my time now that I need to like stop thinking about this? I started going to the gym like twice a day, and it was and not in a healthy way either. I wasn't eating well, and I thought like 145 pounds on 180 pounds sitting in front of you right now. So like it was not healthy. But kind of reeled that in a little bit, got talked into going to Orange Theory through the divorce. I was like dead set that I was going to meet girls at the gym or at Orange Theory. So like, let me try all of this stuff at one time. And ended up really, really liking Orange Theory, which I don't know if you guys know much about, but it's just, it was the first time I'd ever worked out where you go somewhere, somebody would tell you what to do. You worked hard for 50 minutes and then you left. And it had some F3, there's some resemblance between the two a little bit, just in terms of the workouts. And you're competing against yourself more or less. You're kind of cheering for other people at the same time. So really enjoyed that. Got in pretty good shape. Met my now wife. She was a runner or is a runner, and had done a marathon and a lot of half marathons. And so for like dating and to get to know her, we would go on these 4 or 5 mile runs together. And I remember the first time we went on a 5 mile run. I haven't gone on a 5 mile run since college, and it's starting to get easier and easier. Get engaged, sit around January, 5 months before we're supposed to get married. And it's like, I need to do something for the wedding to like prep. So if there's a marathon, the Lincoln Marathon is in May. It was 2 weeks before our wedding. I told my wife, I'm going to do that. And went out the next day, ran 8 miles, said, okay, let's start a training plan. And then I've like fallen in love with running. It's just something that I can clear my head, get out. And I like to run by myself a couple of times a week, just because that's kind of where I think I do my best thinking, especially on Mondays of busy weeks. I don't post on Mondays very much because I like to go for a run and like itemize my week or think about the weekend or what I have to do in front of me. So it's just kind of a time to decompress a little bit. But I've fallen in love with running. I've run the Lincoln Marathon a few times. I've qualified for Boston once. Or just kind of what I love to do now. And I think that's kind of the MO I had at F3 as well as a runner.
Are you a run with headphones kind of guy when you're by yourself, or do you?
Mostly I do. They're not always on. Yeah. And I'll pause something and just kind of run through something. Cause if I'm thinking about, it's a weird place inside my head. If I start thinking about stuff, I'll completely forget the podcast that I'm listening to, but I'll listen to this podcast a lot, or I've got a few that I rotate to as well.
That's super cool. As you started getting into F3, and I think one of the things I hope guys would maybe take away from your story is the role that having, so when you EH would die, you still need to steward his relationship with F3 beyond just like get him a name, and I love the fact that like within, like you said, within the first 10 posts, you're at all these different sites. You got to experience Q source right away. But from a fitness standpoint, like if you tried all like we have ruck sites and run sites and block sites, and like where do you found your rhythm sort of with where you
Mostly I'll post to Paradise or the running sites. Keys letting I'm queuing out Apple Hour next week too, but mostly we're running traditional beat down sites. Heavy Metal used to be within walking distance of my old place, so I would go there occasionally. And just especially even on East Side, you get to know some guys. I don't just like particular guys' cues, so I'll follow them, and even if they're a Heavy Metal or Kucera, I'll go there occasionally. But I'm pretty much a boot camp right guy this way.
So do you hit the gym and lift?
I haven't gone to it. I started F3. I canceled my Orange Theory membership. It was a couple weeks later, and I haven't been back to the gym since. So I've got stuff in my basement that I'll do when it's super cold, or I do a lot of posts or something like that. But yeah, for the most part, I'm outdoors running to do that.
It's awesome. I would be curious, with all your different experiences, any like learnings for guys that maybe are like, I would love to become a runner, but it's hard, or that it's intimidating, or like what? I'm just curious what you've learned that you would share with guys. Like, how do you, best way to get started?
Well, probably not take him to the Trident for a beer rally. Yeah, or future, or name the East Side site with all the hills. Yeah. Just, you gotta get out there and do it. I feel like, I mean, as somebody who started at not no base, but relatively little base, if you just, it's incremental at point. And it doesn't, especially at F3, you don't have to, we'll need to talk about MO, that you don't have to go run, a 650 per minute pre-run with stitches every time. You don't have to run that pace, or if you do, that's great. And there's guys that will, but if you want to run 930s or 10s or whatever, you can find other people. And I feel like, you start showing up and you'll figure out kind of where you land in that. And nobody's here to say, hey, the pre-run is a 5K. You got to do that. No, a pre-run can be a 1.5 miles or whatever you're comfortable with at that point. And I love the pre-run aspect too. Like, once, I know some guys that are new into it, or maybe used to that, or pre-activity aspect. Like, once you start doing the pre-activity routinely, it just becomes part of the workout. And so to me, F3 doesn't start at 5:30. It starts at 5, or sometimes at 4. So if you just kind of have that mindset of the beat down is going to start at 5, you get there, you do your own thing, or you get the run in, then the extra stuff starts, and other guys follow in. It just kind of becomes part of it. So that's real where I kind of followed it.
It's awesome. One of the things, I think I love, as a runner, I have we said fear of mountain lions that it prevents me from running. It's just about me. So did it grab that, but get the pillow out. Yeah. You mentioned a little bit about, just your mind and sort of like thought process and using running to work through that. I know a lot of guys, maybe we don't talk about it, but just sort of struggle with navigating maybe it's intrusive thoughts or negative thoughts or self-limiting thoughts. Anything there that you might be able to share with us?
Anxiety, like, I don't think I was used to be depressed and anxious, like clinically, quote, quote. But it's just more of the, we're busy people, would got a lot on our plate, but work, you can just spiral down the avenue if you want to, or you start thinking about all the stuff you got to do at home, or find out a dad and I'm raising a kid, and what is that like? Like, everywhere you look, there's advice on how to be a good parent and what you're doing wrong. Like, it doesn't matter what the topic is. I feel like you can just keep going and thinking about other stuff, and how overwhelming that can be. And that's why I lean on running right at that point, or, I talk to my wife a lot, obviously, but, uh, it's okay to be anxious and to feel that way. Cause I think a lot of people do. You still talk about it a lot. Like we're all busy people and have a lot go on in our lives. And, it's just a way for me to kind of compartmentalize is probably not the right word, but take it all in and be okay with it. And it's also a time for me to kind of, hey, I'll talk. We'll get into the fake part, but it's also a quiet time to talk to God or just think about that stuff too. Because I always feel like once I do that, you get the it's almost a physical weight lifted at that point too. So it's a little bit of the runner's high, a little bit of time alone, all that stuff.
As far as the relationships that you made in F3, and it sounds like, yeah, just from some of the people that you mentioned, it sounds like you made some pretty good ones very quickly. We hear from a lot of guys that pre-running is a really great way to get to know guys because you can talk. I can't talk to Play because he's running. I can't breathe as well. I'm trying to keep up with him. It's listening. That's just a lot of listening, which is per normal usually actually. But so can you talk about how it was you formed the relationships? Was it running with guys before workouts? Was it getting to know people through their COTs or cafeteria? Where did you find that you were able to make those relationships and experience that sticky part of the second half?
It was definitely with pre-running. I would love to go to coffee more. I do love to go to coffee, but it works out on Saturdays. But my home life, my wife and I will start work relatively early. So if I want to see her or see my kid, I've got to leave after the COT. Usually I'm riding in my car a lot of the time. So, to try to get the fellowship piece has been a lot on the pre-runs. On the east side, pre-runs are kind of maybe more sparsely attended, I think, than some other places. But a guy like Stitches is a guy I look up to both, or look behind because he's blowing me out of the water a lot of times. But a guy who's I've been able to get to know. He's the one who gave me the flag at Future, and so just trying to, at least I can talk to him for the first 10 minutes or so before we're kind of out of gas, or at least I'm out of gas lately. Trying to keep up with them. But that the pre-running is, sometimes we'll do the Friday, I'll do flat Fridays, and, just if the group of guys that is there wants to run 9 minutes, I'll run 9 minutes just because I want to chat and hang out and talk to guys about what they've got going on. So I feel like being in the shape I'm in has allowed me to, if guys want to go run fast, I'll run fast with you and do that. But if guys want to kind of peel off and we can chat about anything, that's where we've done that too. So I feel like that's a good piece of me in there as well. Hey, I want to talk about this. So if you guys are going to run short or slower, I'm happy to hang back and just kind of chat a little bit. Because I just want to get you guys' thoughts on this week. So yeah, it's been my great so far.
Yeah, it's funny. We're doing some free to lead book studies, and we were covering this chapter yesterday that talks about the DRTF, the diminishing return to fellowship, and sort of how that relates to the number of guys that we sort of are consistently out of sight before we try to split.
And so there's totally this vision of you keep the workouts smaller so that you can have some of that fellowship. But I think that it takes it another step further when it is just maybe one-on-one or rather, or, I think one of the questions I was going to ask you, because I can't, I love my wife. She's in great shape, but she would never go for a run with me.
Yeah.
And I think when we tried it one time, we were going so slow that I think I hurt my knee. But anyway, if you would talk to us about that, how has that impacted other relationships? Because I think if you could go, the same fellowship we build relationships with other men, but if you could do that with your spouse, I imagine that would be your base.
Yeah, it was a similar, pace and time. Yeah, so I mean, it was a little slower maybe than I want to, but just something to, we bond over fitness and F3, and being able to bond over our fitness just in our relationship. Her and I was, it's great. I've gone to a couple for yoga classes, and we kind of have a good agreement on who's working out when, that type of thing. Just know that it's something that's important to both of us. So, but being able to just have, we ran for an hour together, and just being able to have that time to talk about anything. And it was a good way to break the ice on random topics and, just really kind of dive deep then rather than sit on our couch or going out to dinner or what have you. So, we have not just with, life now, we've not kind of been able to go on a run together, in quite a long time, just with daughter and everything. But we do walks, 5 or 6 nights a week. And that's kind of our way we'll get the dog out, get the stroller out, and let's just chat for 30 or 40 minutes, depending on how long it takes. Just kind of, we like to be outdoors. That's probably when we do our best communicating. We're not trying to get dinner ready. We're not trying to get the baby down to sleep. It's just, what do we have going on this week? What do we want to do? How are you feeling? How's work? That's kind of probably when we have our deepest connection. It's great.
I love that. One thing I would just kind of pull out of that, like I think what you're hitting on is getting outside and movement, whether it's running or walking, or I've been on some walks with my oldest daughter, and like just the ability, like I think because we're always on, right? Everywhere else in our life, we have a screen or a noise or a something that's like, you're giving us information. And then even by yourself, like I love this sort of idea of like, go for a run or a walk or whatever on a Monday morning and just allow yourself to think. Like we don't have enough thinking time to process what's going on. That's where I love that.
Yeah, just being able to get outdoors, doesn't matter how warm or how cold it is for me. It's just being able to kind of let my mind wander a little bit. And then if it's almost, okay, I'm back in the house, let's lock in on living our life here. But while I'm outside, it's a good way to do that.
So how has your relationship with your father changed since you joined F3? What's that been like? Is it similar where you guys have been able to find new things to bond over and share in the way that you and your wife bonded over fitness? Is it something that you guys have in common that brought you closer together?
Yeah, I've always had what I would call a great relationship with my dad, and you guys have both met him. He's just a good person, and he's always been a really good role model for me. So like, we've never been far apart ever. And even when I was in college, he would come out to Hastings and watch me play. And he's always been involved in, my activities and that type of thing. And even in my early mid-20s, I would spend a lot of time at home. I like my parents, which is a great thing to have, as a kid. And I would even go to their house and eat dinner before I went and worked my shift, free food, but, I just like the connection with my parents. So I'll say we started with what I would call a really good father-son relationship before I even got into this. And now, since joining F3, it's tenfold. It feels like we don't purposely work out together much anymore. Like now that he lives out west. I live in the Benson Country Club area, so we don't necessarily live close, but we'll still organically see each other at beat downs every other week, probably, just because I know where he's probably going to go, or he'll text me occasionally. So I get to see him routinely. I see him outside of F3 multiple times a week anyway. But that's always kind of the main topic we have to talk about first before we talk about sports or golf or whatever. We got a text message from this morning about, I talked to so-and-so in the Glue-OOM and, here's what I heard and that type of thing. So being able to have that other connection with him outside of just the typical father-son has just been, it's been awesome. It really has. And this is not the Q-tip Glue-OOM episode, but it could be at this point, being able to see what he's doing with himself at 71 years old I feel super lucky to see that from my dad and have that role model and know that he's what the sacrifices he made for us prior to, when he was my age, and now what he's doing with himself at 71, it's just really special to see. And it's having guys come up to me and say, your dad's such an animal, or yeah, your dad, he queued down at the canyon last week. It was yeah, kicker, like I think he takes pride in that, like being able to keep up and being able to, and he's not, it's just part of his personality now is that free, which is cool too. So he is all in drinking the Kool-Aid, and that has kind of spilled off onto me. And that's one of the reasons I keep going back to F3. It's not because I think I would still enjoy it a lot if he wasn't around, but the fact that he is probably pushes me to get out even more than I currently have. He supported me while I had the Flag of Future. He was there not every week, but 90% of the weeks he was there, and so that was really cool about having Flag 2 was having him. I'm going to see my dad Thursday morning, and I'm going to make an effort to get coffee every Thursday morning, so maybe we can chit chat or hear some stuff, or we'll have 5 minutes to talk about my niece and nephew or what my mom's doing and that type of thing. So having that ring check-ins has been great, but it is, again, I know there's there's quite a few, I think now, father-son combos. I know Rocket Hipster, who we had on the show, or they did it together, but and then High Point and Low Point, I think, are out there. I mean, there's quite a few guys that are a little older than me who have teenage kids, but like being a 38-year-old man and seeing your 71-year-old father kick ass is just awesome. It really is. It's just special.
That's outstanding.
Yeah.
Well, and I think a lot of guys, their earthly father has not been the best example. And so I think to see that it is possible and to see the fruit of that, right? To sort of see like, oh, if I can sort of stay the course and, continue to work on myself, this is what the future looks like maybe for my son, right? Or, and I love, I can't remember who was telling me this, but there was a workout that Q-Tip was at, and there was like a race back to the flag at the end, and he beat somebody out, and they were giving him a hard time, and he goes, "What? Yeah, and I even did that with just one kidney." There's also like they're kind of ribbing the guys at BR, just but it's amazing to me. I would, one of the questions I wanted to ask you, and this may be selfish because I always think about how my kids might turn out, but he's got sobriety as part of his journey. How's that impacted you? Does he talk about that? If you remember that as a kid? I would be curious here.
Yeah, so he got sober the day he married my mom. Okay, so before he was, yeah. So I think he and my mom celebrated 42 or 43 years, or will sell in December. So and it's so crazy to think about, like his past life, more or less past life, and how different my life is today because of that, and the sacrifice that he's making or still making to this day. And we don't talk. He didn't talk about it a lot outside of, we say happy anniversary and celebrate that. He's like, oh, it's also my 40th plus year of sobriety, and occasionally I'll pick his brain and talk to him about stuff, and like, it's fun to maybe listen to him a little bit, talk about the dumb stuff he used to do.
Yeah.
But also it's shocking. And, you see what could have been at that point. And I see other guys who maybe don't have great relationships with their dads, and that's, I don't think the word lucky or blessed begins to describe how I am with him. Our lives can be so much different. Could be in my life, maybe, he and my mom wouldn't have worked out. They're just the path my life could have taken if he would have chosen that route. And instead he's, like this 71-year-old beast at this point that is just, I think he's a great role model for me. But to your point, the other guys, I can see him in the blue and they see what could be. And, it's something to strive for and something to want for themselves and their relationship. And if I would kill to be 71 years old and have my daughter want to hang out with me as much as I want to hang out with my dad, so it's just a goal set at that point.
Did he, as you were getting to the like drinking age, or did he sort of, was there a like, hey, just be aware this is maybe something in our family, or any of that sort of stuff?
100%. It's off both sides of my family. I see effects of it firsthand and see what that could do. And, he and my mom let me make mistakes and figure that out. And, now as I've gotten older, you kind of see the writing on the wall of like, yeah, like go play golf or do this stuff. But it's like, yeah, if I want to be like him, I should, like, so I need to make some changes in my life too, or, hone things in a little bit. I feel like even since I've gotten remarried, like the direction my life is taking is just down that path rather than something else that it could have been. So yeah, and it's just yeah, cool doesn't do it justice at this point. How I feel about that.
I love that. I'm also curious as you think about being a father yourself, what's that been like? And remind me, so you have a daughter.
She's 11-month-old daughter. So to celebrate 1 year next month, and I'll plan on that birthday party. But as good as it's the best. Yeah. Like I'd said this earlier. I'd wanted to be a dad. I feel like for so long because of my dad and because of my mom and like the role models they are for me. And it's like, man, that's really cool. Like seeing what they're doing, and I want that. Like that's what I want. And I thought I was ready to be a dad in my late 20s. I wasn't. And I didn't become dad until I was 37 years old. And that was probably the right timing for me. I feel like it worked out. And she's between my wife and her. It's like, I don't know, just the way I feel as a person is just different than it was a year ago. What my mission is every morning when I wake up and what I want to be as a person has changed so incredibly that, I think going through everything I went through just gives me even more appreciation for it at this point. And actually, I see her, woke her up this morning, and I get so excited to see her, and I think about her all the time. And, our daycare's got an app where you can look at her, and I'm like in the middle of meetings and, you're pulling it up because like, what's she doing right now? It's just, I'm almost obsessed with her as well is a good way. And I think my wife and I are both in the same boat. We're just so ecstatic to have her, to be her parents, that we're, lucky. It's not right here. Yeah.
The first one tricky. They're really cute. Then
I've ever
what what's so cool is that as I'm just sort of like thinking about your story and then that comment you just made, outsider looking in, right? There's sort of this like vision, right? That you out like, I want to be a dad and I want to carry on this gift that my parents had given me. But then also this season of like, you weren't ready and you had to hit this sort of rock bottom moment. To me, that's a faith sort of God thing. But talk us through like faith. What's your journey been in that space? Like go to church growing up and all that stuff, and then get where you're at today.
You've been to this podcast a long time. That's a great transition there. Well, you guys see my style. Was great. You can probably copy and paste my first 20 years of my faith journey from like half your previous podcasts that I've listened to. So grew up Catholic, grew up in the Catholic Church, went to parochial school for grade school and high school, and had a good relationship with the church in that time. Like, I don't think enjoy is the right term, but I went to mass and kind of was a believer and kind of went down that path. Got to college. First time you really experienced free will.
Yeah.
Stopped going to church really at that point and kind of fell off. And then in my early 20s, as I was single at the time, and kind of got back into it a little bit and would go to church more routinely. I really started actually praying more. When I used to work as an emergency room nurse, and we spoke on anxiety. I get so anxious before I would go into my work shifts because you quite literally didn't know what you would see every day, whether it's somebody that drops a couch on his foot or it's somebody who's actually dying, whatever it is. So yeah, it's an odd, yeah. I would get so anxious that I'd pray on my way to work. Like on my drive, I wouldn't listen to music or a podcast or anything. I would pray. And that would be like, okay, it was almost like psyching myself up for work. And that was how I did it, was through prayer. And that kind of comforted me a little bit. And then also got me back into faith a little more. And prayer became more routine and more structured for me, and something that I kind of slowly led me back into the church. And uh, joined Catholic church once I moved back to Omaha, and would go to church routinely. But again, I really find that my faith uh, is more in the quiet times than it is necessarily, like receiving the sacrament, thing like that. I have currently, kind of where we're at, I have a church that's a half mile from my office. And if I get, say a meeting cancels, or I've got something coming up that day or the next day that I really just want to pray about or think about, I'll, drive over to the church and just hang out there for 15 minutes, a pew, whether it's, whether there's something going on or not there, and just kind of sit and think and have that one-on-one time with God. And that is where I find comfort now in my faith journey. It's not necessarily traditional. We're still churchgoers. My wife is not a traditional, believer per se, I think, but she'll go to church with me. She knows it's important for me, like, to bring my daughter to church. Like, I remember when the first time I brought my daughter to church, I was sitting there weeping in church, like, because I thought, how cool is this? Like, I've got my family at church. This is something I've wanted for so long. And it's something I really like to do, is just to pray her, whether she's, she sleeps through most of it, or we got get little snacks or what have you at that point. So, but something that would kind of want to ingratiate in our family now. It's awesome.
I would be curious, as you're thinking about like your journey through F3, what's been your experience with sort of the faith, or even just like faith shows up in so many different places, right? It's like the prayer at the end, or even a COT, or maybe a Kucera, or some of that sort of stuff. But has F3 kind of helped encourage growth there, or what's that been like?
With the vast range of guys in F3 with differing faiths, levels, I think it's exposed me to guys who are very almost in your face about their faith, and sort of like in a positive way. Like, hey, this is what I'm about. This is what I believe. You don't have to believe this either, but this is what I believe. So this is what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah.
And I think that openness is pretty cool. And being able to end in a prayer every time, whether it's, you believe or don't believe, or what have you, I feel like just like the summation of the workout like that is really a powerful thing. And it's allowed me to maybe talk a little bit more openly about it, whether it's in a pre-run or a lot of my COTs. I like to be very open about what's going on in my life or how I'm feeling. I think it's the best avenue I have outside of talking with my wife to tell anybody about what I've got going on, whether you know me or not. I think you're going to get to know me better after you're a COT with me. Boy. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, talk us through, you mentioned Stitches earlier, and Futurama. Yeah, that site's been around for a long time. Not the first, but the second. It's Thursday AOS in after a long land. But what was that like to get the flag? And then would also love to hear like succession planning, or just any advice that you picked up along the way for guys that are maybe thinking about taking the flag, or maybe just do the conversation.
Yeah. Future near and dear to my heart. It's a mile from my house. I ran by it this morning. I run by it, 5 days a week, whether I'm working on that free or not. So it was just a perfect site for me to queue. But how I got the flag, I was on pre-run with Stitches and Swiper, actually. So kind of a full circle story. Swiper was probably trying to keep up as well, and had asked Stitches about what his succession plan was. And then this was in the first 5 minutes in the pre-run. And Stitches said, well, I was thinking about maybe asking this guy. And what's me and Eric been like, do you not want to do this? Like that was the first thought I had. It's like, this seems like a lot of work. I don't know if this is for me. And then, 20 minutes goes by in pre-run, and we were done with pre-run. I walk up to Stitches and I said, I'll do it for sure. Like, it took me 20 minutes to realize, just do it. It's, it's going to work out. It'll be great. It's something you'll be good at. I know I will. And, was happy to take over, taking it from a guy who's that you got so many qualities that you want to emulate. Is kind of hard to like bring that to, or, succeed that, excuse me. And, he's just it's a good human. He's just an insane workout guy, just like somebody that be like, oh, this guy's going to do it. I should do this too. So was happy to take the flag from that guy. And Stitches is just such a big guy in my life right now. And took the flag and just embraced it. I think that's the biggest advice I have. Enjoy it. It's nice. I love having something to do every Thursday morning. I knew where I was going to go. I knew what I was going to do. I knew my dad was going to be there. I made a point to be the first guy there. I wanted to be the first year to open up the site in case there was a new guy or anybody that would come for a pre-run that hadn't been on the pre-run before, which is Omaha's most dangerous pre-run. I did a lot of trademark. I was like, Omaha's pretty SAO. I had Omaha's most dangerous pre-run. If you've ever done the Futurama pre-run right along Dodge, running single file. So highly encourage anybody to do that. It's a tough one. But it was just fun to have some structure. And I to the point where I changed my work schedule to not know in on Thursday morning, so that way I could go to coffee every time afterwards and get that aspect of it as well. So it was some that it came easily. And you worry about how am I going to find 50 whatever guys to queue over this. It just happens, and you meet guys that you swap queues. And I love the queue, and so I would swap guys, and whether it's Hugo, you just have a show in Sarpy, or who's also an animal, by the way, or go out west at my buddy Dick, and having him come out and queue. So just getting guys that aren't just the same 20 guys that show up there all the time was great. I passed the flag to No Cry, so a year ago now, and he was the guy that was not on my radar initially as somebody that where you can walk the flag. I know he had he had the flag at Rabbit Hole for a little while, had some things if his life happened that he ended up giving the flag up, but he actually approached me about it one day, and I was like, man, that shows a lot of like gumption. Be like, hey, I want this, and I want to do this. And he and I got header one night, just started chatting. And he's such a good dude who's accelerating incredibly over the last year about how all in he is on F3, and just I think it's so personal life as well has shown a lot of strides. And there's so many guys in F3 that if it weren't for F3, I never would have met this guy. He's one of those guys, and I'm so glad that it happened there. That got experienced that.
One of the things you mentioned right off the bat was Swiper telling you we're going to pick up 6 in your first pre-run, and then you become a site queue. The picking up the 6 is kind of falls to you, and with you being coming into F3 with a really high level of fitness and being able to maintain that. Can you talk about kind of what you mentioned it was a really cool thing, by the way, that you noticed. What do you, as a site queue, what did you think about picking up to 6 and what that does for new guys and guys at different fitness levels? Like, what's your perspective on that?
One of the best things to do at F3, you feel like, is making sure that we're always getting guy PM, and being ingratiated to that so early made it pretty easy. I feel like one of the reasons I do pre-run is these I can control for the most part that part of the beatdown, and especially on a Thursday when I was site queue, and go and bust my butt trying to do 7-minute miles for the pre-run and get a good workout in, because then I can just make sure that I'm always around to 6 or hanging out, not to call guys out by name if I watched it. Like Hipster, who's another triple respect guy. We would often, when I was site queue with my dad being there, Hipster, and Davichi, we'd have 3 triple respect guys there who are all us on their asses, doing a great work. But it's always fun to like hang out, chat with somebody. Again, I never would have met this guy if it weren't for F3, and he's an awesome guy. His son's a great guy. You just get time to hang out with guys that normally would gravitate to. And normally to deep dive, gravitate towards these Stitches and the Farvas of the world and that type of thing, because I want to keep up with those guys and do that thing. But getting the opportunity to hang out with some guys at very fitness levels just makes it so cohesive at that point. And, you're all doing the same workouts. Some managers doing it faster, the better guys. And it's a cool way to keep in touch with the entire group.
That's right.
Yeah. The other thing that came up in Free to Lead, there's a story from a guy named Drop Thrill, and he talks about picking up the 6, but not just in the fitness aspect, right? It talks about it from a leadership perspective, right? If we're going to invigorate male created leadership, we need to not leave guys that are, less experienced or maybe just, not in a good spot leadership wise. So I would be curious as you're thinking about leadership and maybe even legacy is another term that comes to mind. Like what does that look like to you? What's leadership? What do you feel like you've learned? Any advice you could pass off or anything like, legacy wise that you're trying to lead? Like if you combine your whole story, like where you headed with that play?
Just because life sucks, it doesn't mean it's going to suck for the entire time, and doesn't mean that you can't, remount from that and become the leader, the person that you want to be. That I wasn't it to lead 5 years ago, and now being able to rebound from all of that and show guys, that you say lead by example a lot, but like show guys that just because life sucks occasionally for a period of time doesn't mean that it's not going to turn around and not be great for you and put you in that right spot in your life. So I love to lead the group. I love to work, kind of lead by example and show guys with my fitness level that this is what you can do and can't do for a workout. But it's more just who you are as a person. Right? Whether you're comfortable with it or not in this group, in this setting, it's not hard to lead. We encourage it, and it's such an open atmosphere that I feel like we give guys the opportunity to open up, whether or not at work they're a subordinate or what have you. That out in F3, it doesn't matter who you are. You have the opportunity to tell people what to do and how to do it, and I kind of show what you made at that point.
What's so cool is just like hearing your whole story, right? A lot of that shows up, like just sharing what you've gone through, right? And then when another guy's happy to be going through that same thing, being able to just come alongside him and say, me too. And I get it. And that does suck.
Yeah, so it will get better. So I love that insight that you shared. I would be curious if we turn wrap up here. Where are you at today? Like where you need prayers or encouragement or support? If you guys listen, he's going to send you a text and sort of nudge you on something. What do you need?
I think there's a few things. I'm still just trying to figure out who I am as, a husband, as a father, as a person in general. I feel like with all of the life changes I've had over the past couple of years, I'm still trying to get on the surface. It looks like I've got good direction, and I hope I do, but whatever that direction is, I hope I encourage it. It's the right direction. We talked about my dad's sobriety and that type of thing. I don't think, I always am worried that that's going to be an issue for me, like whether or not it's 38 or what have you, like that's something I think about a lot. And being a husband, a father now, seeing, the impact that could have on me down the road. So that's just something I think about quite a bit, and have recently, just kind of in this season of life of, man, my daughter is now getting to the age where she can remember, or she understands what's going on a little bit more. Not quite, but she will shortly. Like she'll understand me as a person, and that's kind of what always drives me to be hopefully the best version of myself. Is I want her to look back on her upbringing in our house and just with hopefully only positive things to say, and that started to sway me. Like
what we think about on that identity pieces. That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah,
Honestly.
but this has been great, and I gotta thank you for sharing your story. You know, I think it's just so cool, and I know guys will learn a lot from you that too.
Absolutely. Do a little Name-O to wrap us up here. I'll start us off. Brandon, we already for you the plague.
Like, right. Mike Duffy, 43, Gator.
There, Al Sheriff 38, break room. And what's the call sign? Is there? Recently somebody recommended that I do a little smoking action. Al Sheriff 38, break room. Great. It can be all sort of adopting that. Add a little yes to the. No, tobacco's bad. Don't do that. You know, nurses used to smoke. My grandma. So, appreciate you. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys.
Thanks for sharing, man.
Scars on our hands, hope in our chest. We're not defined by the weight of the test. Brothers in step, we carry the flame. Different roads, but the heart beats the same. Every man's got a story to tell. From the valley low to the mountaintop, yeah. Every man's got a story inside. Standing strong, we won't hide. Every man, yeah, every man's got a story. We've been broken, we've been bruised, but we rise again and we don't get to choose. Through the fire, through the fight, every man's story burns in the night. Scars on our hands, hope in our chest. We're not defined by the weight of the test. Brothers in step, we carry the flame. Different roads, but the heart beats the same. On a story to tell, from the valley low to the mountaintop yell. Every man's got a story inside. Different roads, but the heart beats the same. Every man's got a story to tell. From the valley low to the mountaintop hill. Every man's got a story inside. Standing strong, we won't hide. Every man, yeah, every man's got a story. Every man's got a story. Voices rise like thunder, they roll. Truth in the pain, it's shaking the soul. Chains may rattle, but they break in time. Every man's story is yours and mine. From the struggle to the glory, every man's got a story. In the dark or in the light, we keep marching through the night. Every man's got a story inside. Every man's got a story to tell. From the valley low to the mountaintop hill. Every man to the mountaintop hill. Every man's got a story inside. Standing strong, we won't hide. Every